Hello, this is Wmpyr back with another video. This time, what I want to talk about is, first of all, my previous video, I dropped a big bomb on you guys. It's not the first time I said it, but still, I don't see other people on YouTube saying it. It's a big bomb. And what I'm saying is, knife fencing is better than knife boxing. That's what I said, right? And yeah. Okay, I hope that is an eye-opener for a lot of people. And please, take your time and think about it. Now, on my YouTube channel, I have done my best to encourage when it comes to style versus style. I don't want to say that one style is better than another style because A, it just simply isn't. B, that is a prejudice way of thinking, and it's not a good way of thinking. It's very negative. It has a superiority complex. It is not the martial path, and once again, it's simply not true. Okay, so then why would I even say knife fencing is better than knife boxing? Because I'm contradicting myself, right? Because knife fencing is a style, knife boxing is a style. And I just said one style is better than another. What I'm trying to clarify here is there is a right tool for the right situation, right? So that makes sense. That's logical. And if you use the wrong tool for the situation, then that'll make the other tool better, just for that situation. I'm not saying better, period. I'm just saying for that specific situation, one tool can do better than the other. And this is just simple, right? It's simple logic. So, if you're a plumber, in a certain situation, you might need a wrench. But in another situation, you might need a hammer. So it just depends on the situation. So for a self-defense situation, which is still pretty broad, but in a general self-defense situation, I am saying to you guys, knife fencing is the correct tool, whereas the knife boxing is not the best tool. That's what I mean, okay? And that in itself, once again, is a big, big bomb. Especially when I look on YouTube, a lot of people are raving about knife boxing, and here I am, I'm saying, guys, that's, you guys are on the wrong page. You got to be looking at knife fencing, okay? So just wanted to do that. Now, the next thing is, if you get knife fencing, or just fencing, period, and you apply that to empty hand. Okay, so you convert fencing into empty hand. That's when you get Jeet Kune Do. Okay, that's another huge big bomb that I'm dropping. Bomb number 2. Okay. And I will go into that. I have to do it in a separate video. I'm sorry I can't do it in this video just because it's so much content. And I want to reveal to you guys some eye-opening things that I was like, whoa, this is freaky. This is crazy. So it's almost like going into like conspiracy theories or something like that. It's very, very entertaining. And at the same time, I hope that it is helpful and that it is close as possible to facts, okay? Because I don't want to just entertain and just lie out of my teeth. That's not the martial path. So entertaining is great. I just personally find the subject super interesting. So I'm saying Jeet Kune Do is, a lot of people might think, yeah, Jeet Kune Do is combined with, what I heard back in the day was Wing Chun Kung Fu, and perhaps other Kung Fu styles, boxing. Boxing was huge. Fencing, and then I heard Savate as style number 4. I hear a lot of people not mention Savate, so they just mention, sometimes it's just Kung Fu, boxing, and fencing. Those 3, that's it, right? And what I'm telling you guys right now is I didn't know how much the fencing, how big it is, to the point where I could pretty much say it's pretty much fencing, all right? So that's a huge bomb right there. And now I'm going to go to bomb number 3, which is what this video is about. It's what I want to concentrate on. And this, I wouldn't say it's so much a conspiracy type of topic. I would say, oh boy, I feel like an archaeologist in this one. Okay, so for bomb number three, I felt like an archaeologist, and let me tell you guys why. Okay, so first of all, like I type in, Filipino martial arts on YouTube, and a bunch of videos come up, and a lot of it is stick work. Stick work is great, In fact, I always will tell you guys, start with the sticks first. Okay, and the closest example I could give you guys for that is like in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know, I started training, learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I had to wear the gi. It was old school, so we wear the gi. And then yes, I did some training where we didn't wear the gi. Just like Under Armour. That's it. Um, Under Armour and like MMA shorts, that kind of thing. Maybe wrestling shoes. But no gi, nothing super solid with collars and sleeves, nothing like that. With the Under Armour, you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to be doing stuff like that. But anyway, but I do also recommend, like for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you start with a gi, and then also do what Eddie Bravo says, which is, hey, if you're training for MMA, then you got to train no gi. So, and even back then it was said, we do gi training and then we do no gi training. And then I think, was it Eddie Bravo's school, the 10th Planet, where they were like, we just do 90% or 100% no gi. And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But what he was saying was making sense. And I'm saying I'm not against the gi. Okay, at first I think the way he said it, and it was almost like he was just trying to cause controversy, and he did get a lot of attention, but it could have just been marketing, because I mean he comes from traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he comes from the gi training. So anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say to you guys is do both gi and no gi for grappling. So with Filipino martial arts, do the sticks, okay, but also go beyond the sticks. And when we go beyond the sticks, one of the most important things, I would say the three most important things. Number one is the stick. Number two is empty hand for sure. And then number three, I would say, is blade. And yeah, blade, you got to go to a blade. You have to put in blade work, all right? So out of all the blades, because we in this day and age, we don't walk around with swords, but we do walk around with machetes in certain countries and in certain situations, like backyard work and stuff. It's perfectly fine to be, having your machete right there for yard work. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Or maybe you are on the trail. That kind of situation, you are in the mountains or something, then a machete may make sense, right? But more common than that, because at the end of the day, we don't want to ignore percentage-wise what is more common, what is more rare. We don't want to ignore that, okay? So more common to me would be carrying a knife, and because it's so convenient. And yes, you could use a knife to open your packages, your letters, grocery stuff. Okay, the knife comes in handy, like a bag of chips. Okay, so the knife, to me, is where it's at. Number two is the machete. Okay, I know traditionally the bolo, or go into the ginunting, those kinds of one-handed swords and stuff. It's just, to me, that is more. I mean, there's nothing wrong with exploring that, and I recommend it, but I don't think it's paramount. Okay, I don't think it's priority, definitely. So for me, knife work. Now, when you go into knife work, right? To me, this is the key. You're going into knife work, and in a self-defense situation, the idea, right, that what I'm teaching, and this is also when I look on YouTube, self-defense instructors. Okay, so they're teaching self-defense for civilians for urban, modern day urban setting. Okay, so that means the city, right? So in today's city self-defense, they are teaching the same thing that I am saying to you guys. So we're all in agreement, which is you 90% of the time. Okay, I'm sure there are instructors that say something else, but a lot of us that I've seen on YouTube say the same thing, which is you want to be either too far away or you want to be way too close. Don't be in the middle. Okay, and this stands true for, like, for example, if you have the guard in an MMA match, you have the guard, and that's what they say. You want to be too far to where you're open guard and you're kicking them off of you. Okay, your feet are on the hips. You got the knee on their chest, and you're pushing them off of you completely. So you're trying to get the distance, or you got them really, really tight in to where they cannot hit you hard. But in between, in the middle, that's when they could ground and pound you. Okay, so this has been known in MMA for a while. And another thing is, and this is maybe closer to what we're actually talking about, that's just an example from the ground fighting. But more closer is in a street, and also in the sport of MMA. So it's the same. It doesn't change. The tactic is still the same. Be too far away or too close, because if you're too far away, they can't hit you. You get too close, now you can control. You can tie up their arms and they're not going to hit you. You stay in the middle, you're going to get light up. You're going to get lit up is what they say, right? They're going to use their Muay Thai kickboxing skills on you, their boxing skills on you. They're going to strike you and they're going to beat you up. So if you know that the opponent is a better striker, then you want to be too far away or too close. All right, that's in MMA, but also for the street, we can say the same thing. Too far away or too close, because if you stay in the middle, that's when they can hit you, they can strike you. They have an impact weapon, they can hit you with that, like a baseball bat. Or if they have a knife, that's when they can stab you. They can cut you really bad. They can disembowel you. All right, they can puncture your lungs. They can puncture your organs. So we don't want to be in the middle. We want to be too far away or too close. In my terminology, I call it either being long range or being close range. All right, so this is the same tactic whether it's the street or whether it's MMA, the sport of MMA. And what's funny about this is if you watch the early UFCs, this is exactly what the Gracie family brought to the table. They showed you how to close the gap, getting close, okay? They showed you how to get in close. So they were either too far away, and they're like Hoist Gracie was throwing his kicks. He wasn't a stand-up striker. That wasn't his game. But he was throwing these kicks to make them back off, make it harder for them to get closer to him. So he'd use his kicks in order to be too far away. And then when the time was right, he'd close the distance. He'd bridge the gap. He'd get in, and then now once he's in the clinch, which is too close, right, for them to do a good strike. So he's too close. Once he's in the clinch, he can take them down, and now it's his world because he was the expert grappler. So that's what he did, right? So that strategy was the same even back then, and fighters use it today. And what's even funnier about that is that boxers were using this strategy before the UFC even came out. Boxers. If they're taking too much damage, then they get in too close. They tie up the arms and they stall in the clinch. And it was a realistic defensive move. Yes, you'll get booed. Yes, you'll get warned, but it prevented you from getting knocked out. So boxers use this. So I'm kind of surprised why boxers, kickboxers, Muay Thai fighters, they didn't, when they watched the UFC, early UFCs, and then they were being challenged to compete in it, they should have thought, oh man, you know, these grapplers are going into the clinch, and that's what I do. So it's not going to work because, against a stand-up striker, that's what I do. When I go up against another boxer and I'm getting hit too much, I go to the clinch. So unless I have techniques to stop that, unless I know for sure I can stop that, then, I'm going to get taken down. They should have known that. But the era at the time was that it was so different. The strikers and the grapplers were so segregated. It was so separated that I don't think they put two and two together. A lot of us did not put two and two together. And we had the mentality that striking was better than grappling. And then we learned through the early UFCs that grappling is not only formidable, it actually was very dominant. It became extremely dominant. And striking actually came, we had to bring it in later, we had to adapt to the grapplers, not the other way around. Anyway, so this tactic of being too far away and too close is a solid tactic. I'm saying it's for self-defense. You're going to use it, and then you could see it used in boxing. You could see it used in MMA, which MMA of back then, the early days, back when it was called no holds barred fighting or vale tudo, free fighting back then, and then also even today's modern MMA, we see it being used. The same tactic. Okay, so to me that's huge. That's important. Okay, now I'm gonna and a lot of self-defense instructors on YouTube, I see them saying the same thing. Be too far away or too close, but don't be in between. Now I'm gonna go one step and say something that I've been saying on my YouTube channel, but I feel like a lot of YouTube instructors, they miss this. They don't say this. So I'm gonna make it black and white and clear and try to say it to you guys, which is between being too far away and between being way too close. So it's like you have an option, either be too far away or be too close. I'm telling you right now, it's not an option. If you have that choice, always pick be too far away. On the street, in self-defense, always pick long range. Why? A lot of people will tell you run. In a self-defense situation, you should always just run. First thing, most important, is run. I'm not going to say that because there is a wrong time to run. Okay, there's a time where if you turn your back to run away, you just gave them your back. It's going to be easier for them to take you down. Or there's times where you're cornered and you can't run away. There's all kinds of situations. So it's not about the running. I would say it's about being in long range. Always go to long range, because you go to long range, then you'll have the choice. It'll make it easier for you to run away. Okay, it's difficult to run away in medium range. It's difficult to run away from close range, and it's ultra difficult to run away from ground range. So I would say always go to long range. Then you'll have a more likely chance to be able to run away. Or maybe you might decide, hey, I'm going to record this with my cell phone. Or you might be, okay, I'm going to call for help. I'm going to start shouting and screaming, call for help. Or I'm going to observe a little bit, see what's really happening, or whatever. You have a much better chance of doing any of those things, but go to long range. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Go to long range, and so it's long range. We want to skip the middle, which is medium range, or go to close range. And what I'm telling you guys now is between long range and close range, long range is the better choice. It's the safer choice. It's safer. Why? Because long range, the definition is they cannot reach you. You're out of reach. You're out of range. Okay. Medium range is the opposite of that, which means you're in their reach. Okay. So that means they could punch you. They could hit you with that baseball bat. They could stab you with that knife. They're in range. It doesn't take much for them to hit you. Okay. To make contact with you. So that's medium range. close range equals the clinch. Okay, in close range, you're in the clinch with them. You're tied up, right? So that if you do it correctly, you can get control. If you do it incorrectly, they get control on you. And that's when you see, like people being grabbed by the back of the head and repeatedly stabbed and they're killed. Okay. So it's dangerous in that sense. But if you're the one that has control, then the clinch can be very, very good. Okay. Medium range is scary because that's when their stab, the velocity of their stab is very powerful. With a baseball bat, it's right where the swing is going to hit at maximum capacity, the fat part of the baseball bat. That's medium range. Close range, the clinch would be like using the baseball bat to do a bunt, So that's kind of the difference right there. So to hit really hard, it's medium range, okay? And close range will take that ability away, all right? So that's why we want to go to close range if we cannot get to long range. So I want to make that very, very clear. Between long range and close range, go with long range, okay? But now, that being said, there are times where you can't go to long range. Then you need to definitely skip medium range and go to close range. Okay, so we've established that. I'm sorry I'm beating on a dead horse here, but we need to get to close range. Okay, the question is, right, how do we get to close range safely? Okay, and that's where you go, hey, Wmpyr, the Gracie family has already shown that. Hey, boxers have been doing that. Muay Thai kickboxers do that too. MMA fighters today, they do that. And that is where I have to disagree, okay? If the opponent had a knife, then you cannot clinch the way any of those styles do it. Okay? And we never know. Never know if they have a knife. So if they have a knife or they got a weapon, and it doesn't take much effort to cause damage with that weapon, compared to a kick or compared to a punch or an elbow or a knee or a headbutt, compared to that, a knife with a lot less effort, you could mess somebody up. You could seriously mess somebody up with much, much less effort. With a gun, even less effort, because all you need to do is pull the trigger, right? So that's why weapons are so dangerous. Whereas with punching, elbows, headbutts, knees, kicking, you got to put in a lot of effort, right? That's the big, big difference. So because of that, all you got to do, what I'm saying here is test it out. And over the years, I have tested it out with my students. And when I did test it out, we died. Okay, if you try to close the gap, clinch, if you try to get to the clinch, so you're doing the right thing, you're skipping medium range, you're going into the clinch, and if the other person has a knife, you're going to die. There was a very high percentage of getting killed, getting disemboweled, getting stabbed badly deep, getting stabbed, in horrible areas, lungs punctured, all this kind of stuff, where you are going to be either like near death or death, right? So that is what I found from experimenting. So all you got to do is test that out. Now, you don't have to go full force, full contact, all out, but just spar, okay? And there's various ways to spar, and you could drill it and whatever, but you'll see that what I'm saying here is not untrue. There's two things you need to do. You need to test it out, which means spar, some shape or form. You got to spar. Number two is you have to be objective, because unfortunately, people are going to see what they want to see. And if you've already made up your mind about something and you go, oh, getting into the clinch, this is the best way, you're going to defend it, and your brain will block it out, and you're not going to accept reality. You're not going to be like, well, you're going to get cut. And that's what I'm seeing on YouTube, is where all these instructors that are saying the exact same thing that I am, which is be too far or be too close. Don't be in the middle. Don't be caught in the middle. And then they say, Well, against the knife, you're going to get cut. And to me, that is the biggest cop out excuse for not perfecting your technique. And so, if you listen to the way they're doing it, I'm telling you right now, the percentage rate of failure is way too high to where I can't even consider it a technique. Okay, I would say to you guys, whatever they're teaching is garbage now, because the rate of failure is just so high. Even though the technique, what they're saying is like, let's say, grab the wrist. Okay, so the other guy has a knife, grab their wrist. But before you're able to do that, they tell you, well, you're gonna get, it's a knife. You're gonna get cut several times. That doesn't fly well with me, and they're using that as an excuse. And I really, 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 really dislike that, and I really disagree heavily with that. So I want you guys to know that there is a better way. There is a better way than to just say, well, it's a knife, you're going to get cut. So, try not to get cut, try to get lucky. I guess that's what they're saying, get lucky, and just get to the clinch as fast as you can. And to me, that is not cool, because lives depend on this. People need to come home to their families and stuff, right? So I'm telling you, there's a better way. And that better way is something that is missing. So I agree, you need to get to the clinch as fast as possible, but it's also as safe as possible, and that part is missing. So then, how do you get to the clinch safely? That is the ultimate question here. And my answer to that, and this is where I was telling you guys earlier that I feel like an archaeologist. I feel, and maybe this is a little bit of a conspiracy theory or whatever in the martial arts, it is one answer for you to keep it simple. It's trapping. Trapping is the answer. Okay? Trapping is the answer, but when I look at trapping, right, trapping is what is commonly taught in Jeet Kune Do, in Wing Chun Kung Fu, and there's plenty of other styles that do trapping, but also Filipino martial arts, Kia, Kali, Escrima, Arnis. So these three styles, right, Jeet Kune Do, Wing Chun Kung Fu, and Kia, these three have some sort of trapping in there. Now, once again, there's plenty of other martial arts styles that do trapping, some sort of trapping, okay? But that being said, trapping is a lost art today. People have forgotten how to use it. They don't know what it's for. They don't know how to use it. And there's endless arguments about this, okay? And when I look at trapping today, what's being passed down from generation to generation, and what we have today, just type in trapping, martial arts trapping on YouTube, and whatever pops up, okay? That stuff that you're seeing, to me, is I feel like I'm looking at architecture, ancient architecture from long ago. I don't want to say rudely, so I'll say ancient architecture, but I guess it's like saying I am seeing ruins, what's left over. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful what I'm seeing. Okay. And I believe it's legit. It's legit. What I am seeing today is legit. It's kind of like seeing the pyramid today. It's not what it used to be back when it was, what we're seeing today is not the pyramids back then. You know what I mean? It's I believe, quite different. So, but we could start to figure out what it looked like back in the day and what it was for and all those kinds of, we can start to try to figure that out, okay? And there are people that'll argue with me and say, what are you talking about, Wmpyr? We already know trapping. We know how to use it. And that's where I disagree heavily and say, if you know how to use trapping, let me see it in full contact. In full contact, let me see it. And the best person with trapping skills, or any kind of trapping skills, the best person can only do bits and pieces of it in full contact. Only bits and pieces. That's why I say it's what we have left is just ruins. Okay, I don't get to see the full thing. Now the techniques I believe have been preserved, so we get to see the full or close to the full amount of all the techniques. I believe that. I strongly believe that everything is there, just like the pyramids, the ruins, but everything is there. Like I don't mean like stuff hasn't been stolen, but I mean pretty much the pyramids, it's there. You know what I mean? It's not like half of it's gone or something. Okay, so it's there. It's just it is in ruins. It's in shambles, and we're trying to figure out what the heck was this? What is this for? How do you use it? Okay, and all I'm seeing is bits and pieces of it being used. Like, look, it's done in boxing. Yeah, I agree. There are boxers that use, bits and pieces of trapping, but not the full thing. So it doesn't make sense to me to have this whole thing called trapping, and we have all the techniques, and then you can only use one or two things about it. Now I understand that in textbook, what you have in textbook and then what you have in application, it doesn't need to look the same, because it's two different things. One's about learning and preserving information, and the other is about actually using it for a situation. So those are two different purposes, so therefore it doesn't have to look exactly the same. I understand that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the totality of trapping is not, I don't see it in full contact. So why is that? And I believe it's because it's heavily misunderstood, and we are looking at trapping from an empty hand point of view, which I believe is wrong. I believe trapping was originally about what it was made because of weapons. And that's why we don't understand it, is because we're not viewing it from a weapons point of view, because today the most dominant martial arts is MMA, the sport of MMA, and that's empty hands. Weapon styles are not dominant today, unfortunately, or fortunately. So when you look at the ancient battlefields, okay, and also ancient self-defense, back when they were using swords and spears and shields and stuff like that, okay, that is where trapping occurred. And it was born there because they needed it. And they were answering the same question that I asked you guys, is how do you close the distance safely? How do you get to the clinch safely? Because if you duke it out right there in the middle, right? They have a weapon, I have a weapon, and we duke it out right there, then it doesn't matter how good I score or whatever, there's a high chance that we're going to mess each other up. And you just can't take that kind of risk with swords, spears, a mace, a morning star. I mean, these weapons are brutal, and you just can't do that. It's incredibly dumb to risk yourself that way. So then you don't have a choice. You have to neutralize the weapon, and you have to get in close. How do you do that? And that is where trapping took place. Okay, so you would neutralize their weapon with your weapon, go in close, and then finish them off that way. Okay, or fight from there. So you change the dynamic there, because if you stay out there and this guy has a mace and it has like spikes on it and he's swinging that at you, forget a baseball bat. This thing is super deadly, and that's what he's bringing at you. If that even glances, you're going to be bleeding. Okay, if that makes even a partial hit, I mean, you could lose all of this right here. I mean, oh my goodness. So that is what you're up against. Okay, so to go against weapons, we cannot just say, well, it's a weapon, you're going to get cut. We can't say that. Okay, and they understood that back then, and they definitely understood that, and they couldn't take that risk. So they had to neutralize the weapon, and trapping was the way they did it. Okay, That was how to safely go into the clinch. So that is what I'm telling you guys, was trapping was originally because of weapons. And then, well, guess what? With empty hands, we could say this is a weapon too. So then it just, you're using the same logic and going, okay, I need to neutralize their weapon. And that is where trapping took place. Okay. And that is the purpose. The purpose is to get into close range safely. That is the purpose of trapping. Why was it made? To neutralize against weapons. Weapons is huge. And in today, where we've kind of moved so far away from weapons, and then the coming of firearms really changed things. Handguns, pistols, that the guns really changed things too. So that's why I believe it has become a lost. Trapping is a lost art. It is a lost skill. It is forgotten. And that is where I've been trying to tell you guys that, that trapping is the answer to safely getting into the clinch. So I hope that makes sense. It's not they throw a strike and I'm going to counter that and do a trapping, and I'm going to outstrike them using trapping techniques and show that I am the superior striker. No. No, that to me, that is the wrong interpretation of trapping, and that is not what trapping is about. So that is my conspiracy. I hate to say theory, and the word theory is being thrown around today to where it is an opinion, it is a concept. Those kinds of things are people call theories, and it's not. A theory is something that a hypothesis has been tested over and over and over and over, and it's producing, consistent results, and therefore you go, the hypothesis is now a theory. Okay, it has become widely accepted. Other people have duplicated this experiment over and over and over, and they also, came to the same conclusions. Therefore, now we can call it a theory. And that is the true definition, at least the scientific definition of a theory. And so, I'm just saying that has been the vocabulary is wrong. So just trying to clarify that. This is my own speculation. This is my own idea. And it makes sense to me. And, wait till you start training it that way. When you start training, how can you close the gap safely against someone that has a knife? Then it really starts to change the way that you view this stuff. So that's it for now. Almost at 40 minutes. I'm glad it's under 40 minutes. I wish it was under 30 minutes, but yeah, I knew it was going to be a long video, but I am so glad to almost get this off of my chest. This is just, if you've been watching my YouTube channel, this is stuff that I've been talking about over and over again, but I hope this time around I presented it in a way that's different, unique, and interesting, and easier to grasp. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.